This is Dream Power Radio, the place where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Dream Power Radio. This is the place where we talk about dreams, both daytime and nighttime dreams, and how you can use them to make the internal shift to a life you love and rediscover the truth of who you really are. When we were kids, we often played games around the idea of let's pretend. A lot of times it's involved dress up, where we put on costumes or masks to act out being different characters. A lot of grown-ups do this too. There's been a big resurgence of adults dressing up at Halloween, doing cosplay, and even having costume parties at any time of the year. And why not? It's fun to put on a mask and pretend to be a witch, a queen, a superhero, a space alien, or whatever else your imagination wants. For example, back in his 20s, my husband bought an old man's mask, and every Halloween he'd sit at our window and scare all the passersby. I should add that now that he's reaching the age of that mask character, it doesn't seem so funny anymore. These masks are fun and for the most part harmless. But what we may not realize is that we wear masks of a different kind. Invisible masks that hide our true selves from both ourselves and from others. Wearing these masks impedes our personal growth. And the sad thing is that most of the time we don't even realize we're doing it. So what can we do to identify these masks in order to align ourselves with our authentic souls? I've got someone here who I believe has an answer to that question. Lisa Haisha is a motivational speaker, coach, and author who's developed a program called Soulblazing. It helps identify our emotional weaknesses and uncover those traits that keep us stuck. And she's the author of the book, Soulblazing: Transform Your Imposters into Superheroes and Live a More Purposeful, Authentic Life. Welcome to Dream Power Radio, Lisa.
Hi, so good to be here. Thank you.
Oh, it is my pleasure. Lisa, you actually developed this program while you were in prison. So tell me about that.
Not exactly. When I was getting my master's, it was a second year project to create your own type of therapy. And I called it the Bell Theory. And it wasn't developed completely, but then I was doing some hours and, volunteer hours at a prison in Chowchilla. And I was there for 4 days. And the last person on the last day was the bully of the prison. So all the other days went fine. We were in duos and trios and giving them kind of assignments to do, kind of what everyone was there's 40 of us kind of going, this is our assignment for this weekend. So I realized, oh, wow, she's not having any of this. And she's stubborn. And she's like, I don't want to do this. I'm like, why are you here? She goes, oh, because we get bonus points. They get privileges if they do continuing education. So I said, well, maybe you'll learn something new this time. She goes, I'll learn nothing from you. Our lives are so different. You have no idea what I went through, and I hate your stupid briefcase. And I'm like, I said, I hate my briefcase too. I brought it to impress you. And that kind of broke the ice. And we were talking, and then I did it as part of my therapy is eye gazing. So I looked her in the eye and saying, I love you, and this kind of stuff, and broke the ice there. And we bantered back and forth. So what I did was I mirrored her energy. At the end of it, she said, Lisa, you just blazed my soul, and had a tear running down her cheek. And I just went, oh my God, because she was like the one that you could not break. And then I gave her affirmations and declarations to say, which I teach. That's a whole nother thing. But so she kept those with her, and over a 4-month period or so, she raised thousands of dollars for battered women. And she became the angel of the prison, where she would welcome people and teach them the ropes. So it was really beautiful.
That is amazing. It's amazing that you had that transformation with her by just really recognizing her, really.
Yes, and letting her just be, not trying to fix her, just letting the energy be there. So it was like soul to soul coaching. So when she said, you blazed my soul, I said, I'm going to call myself a soul blazer then. From that moment on, I said, you just gave me a career that'll help so many people. And she just said, oh my God, yeah, you do have value. We all have value.
That is so true. In your book, Soulblazing, you talk about people acting as imposters, and you have different types that the people are. But this is not to be confused with the imposter syndrome. So can you explain the difference?
Well, imposter syndrome is feeling like you're a fake or you don't belong, where what I teach is it's the imposter series of all these. I came up with 7 characters after interviewing hundreds of people when I started seeing patterns of, oh, this person uses their sexuality to get what they want. Oh, this person is always trying to be a helper and volunteering, then resenting it. Oh, this person overthinks everything, gets nothing done. So all these so I got 7 of them. So those are about how you behave. It's about putting on a mask of the wounds you got, well, since you were a child, from parents, relatives, teachers, whoever, classmates. They're little scars, little wounds. So you protect yourself wearing a mask of, what does this person want? Okay, to be liked, I have to be this way. And you put on that mask.
I see. And you say that people either react in a responsive or a reactive way. So can you explain what that means?
Yes, when your imposters are in charge, I say, like, your imposters live on the stage of your brain, making decisions for you without you even knowing it, because it's so subconscious. So if someone, triggers you, and we all get triggered, you'll go into reactive mode. If your imposters are not trained, you'll react, no, that's not true, and start attacking back. And then it starts getting really ugly, like we've seen recently in the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trials, where things could get really out of hand. But if one of them had their imposters tamed, then it would just be, you don't react, you would listen and say, thank you for sharing. And you walk out of the room knowing it'll just get ugly if you keep going. So it's about, I created the acronym SOUL, SOUL, which is stop, and then just observe what's happening, then understand where it's coming from. Oh, this person's feel triggered because of this, or I said this, or they said that. And then that will ultimately liberate you from having all these different interactions with people of conflict, because you can't fight with someone who's not willing to fight with you. So being responsive just gives you a minute. Mel Robbins does a thing called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to get out of bed. She's a famous thought leader. And it's like almost the same thing. You just pause before you react and say, wait, who am I being in this moment? And who do I want to be? So part of my teachings are helping you really carve out who you want to be in the world. And you are the 5 closest people near you. You're an amalgamation. So I have all these different people that I like Simone de Beauvoir, Anais Nin, Herman Hesse, Pablo Picasso, Tracy Chapman, Tina Turner, all these people that I love. I'm going, oh, I love this slice of that person. So you start building yourself. And I have all these exercises to help you identify truthfully, who are you? Who do you want to be in the world? What changes do you want to make in the world? And then start working backwards and becoming that person. And you can't become that person unless you say, I want to be an argumentative a-hole or whatever. It's just like, okay, let the imposters run wild. But other than that, you go, okay, let me be in control. If someone says something to me or puts me down, or just, okay, thanks for sharing. That's just their opinion. Walk away. Thanks, and take it as a lesson. And then you could think about it and you could go back to them and go, I was thinking about that. This is how I'd like to change, or I'm perceived this way by you, which I don't feel is what I want to put out. And if I'm putting that out, I want to stop. Then it stops being, you did this to me and you said this to me. And if you work on your imposters, like when I work with people, I won't coach you. I'm going to coach your imposter. We'll find out who your dominant imposter is. Then I work with that imposter, not you, because you're beautiful and perfect. You're your authentic soul. But these dang imposters, kind of like ghosts that jumped in you, that are running your life. So you could stop procrastinating, stop overthinking, stop fixing others, fix yourself first. Stop trying, I'm going to save the world, save you. If you could save you, save your neighbors, save your family, that's where it all begins. If each person did that, because it's impossible. Oh, I'm going to go to this country because there's a war. I'm going to go to that country and I'm going to raise all this money. It's like, no, what's going on in you and your heart? We're all hurt. We're all broken. We're all sad. We're all scared. We all have fears. We all have insecurities. So work on you. Start coming from your heart and being loving to yourself first. If you love and nurture you, you could love and nurture someone and accept love. One of the biggest things is people not knowing how to love or be loved. And once you could learn how to accept love and give love, the world would change.
Oh, that is so true and such a key. But I want to get back to what you said earlier, which was in your acronym, the first word being stop. I think that is just so important. I just want to reiterate it because so many times we speak before we think or we act before we think, which causes more problems than anything. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things if we could all learn to stop.
Yes.
React. That's it.
And just observe your thoughts. Why am I triggered like this? Why do I want to reach out and just kill that person in front of me or just, because I have so many clients and so many of them are relationship oriented of my boss or my colleague or my spouse or my kid. And it's like, oh, I did this and I feel so ashamed, or I just did that and maybe I shouldn't have overreacted. And it's like, God, that's how it came from. I'm like, there's got to be a quick little, acronym, something that they could get in that moment. Oh, soul, right, stop. Observe what's happening. Why am I feeling this? Oh, my mom said this to me as a kid, or this person said that to me. And that, okay, understand where it came from and why you're feeling that way and why it's not really real, because we create stories around what happened to us that aren't even real. If you ask, I'm one of 5. All 5 of us think our childhood was different. This is how I feel we were raised. I'm like, how is that possible? We all have different stories to share. We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. So we project who we are onto the world and onto other people. So it's not real. Just take a chill pill and go, okay, breathe and respond.
Yeah. Well, it's so true. I mean, we all react differently to everything, even to the same thing. We all react differently. I mean, I see it in dreams where you can have a dream with one narrative. I can have a dream with the exact same narrative, and it'll mean 2 totally, completely different things based on our experiences. And that's how that is. I want to dive down a little bit deeper into some of these masks or these imposters that we have. And number one in your book, and probably one that maybe more people deal with than any other, is the victim. So talk to me a little bit more about the victim and why is this harmful to somebody?
Being a victim?
Being a victim, yes.
Oh, first of all, you attract the narcissists of the world, especially going to prisons. It was interesting. Almost every female inmate said, I did it. I killed him, because they said I was a victim of abuse. And they said my mom was. So they're in a cycle of you marry who you saw, you marry your dad. They all picked abusive men who did stuff, or drug dealers, or all, just that world. And she said, they came at me with this, came at me with a cigarette to burn me. Someone pulled a gun on me, and it was self-defense. It's one after another of how they defended themselves. So they're victims, and victims are usually loving and giving and nurturing at their best. And then if they're not at their best, they get manipulative and they blame everybody for their situation. They're needy, and they attract this type of person. So in order to fix that, you have to really, again, it goes back to just fixing you and loving you. You can't get love from someone else, but they feel weak. Most of them don't know how to make a living, or they can't get their act together. So they go for the egotist imposter that has their act together, but they're very domineering, very strong, very controlling at their worst. And their best is they're usually successful, could build companies and all that stuff. But they usually find the egotists at their worst, the ones that are at their worst, because they prey on a victim. So they have someone to control and manipulate. So it's not a good dominant imposter to have. But I do call it the mothership, because all of us have a little bit of the victim in us.
Sadly, that is true. And on that note, we're going to take a short break here. We're speaking with Lisa Haisha about imposters, and we'll be right back.
When is a car not a car?
When it shows up in your dreams. Cars are one of the most common dream symbols. If you don't know why you're dreaming about cars or any image, it can leave you confused or scared. But that dream could be a solution to a pressing problem, or an insight into a solution that's been bugging you for years. Go to my website and sign up for a complimentary discovery session, and I'll help you understand why a dream is a terrible thing to waste.
Go to thedreamcoach.net
for more information.
Welcome back to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Yes, welcome back to Dream Power Radio. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, and we're talking about Soulblazing with Lisa Haisha. Well, Lisa, I want to get into another one of these symptoms, but I found kind of interesting, called the fixer. So tell me what's wrong with a fixer.
Well, the fixer is like the person who sits at Starbucks gossiping about, lack of a better family right now, the Kardashians. Oh, they're famous for being nothing, and their mom did this, and they're all about money. They're all about selling sex. I should have my own show. I have this credential and that credential, but they're not doing anything about it. So fixers don't usually, they're fixing other people or helping other people, but they're also complaining about why their life isn't working. Then if they help you, they want you to give back. This is like from hundreds of clients that I have. I did this for that person. I did that. And they had this opportunity. They didn't invite me, or they didn't do this. So at their worst, they're very manipulative, but they're smart and they could get things done, but usually not for themselves. So they don't feel worthy. Low self-esteem and low self-worth are, very high. So they have great capability to help others, but then they want it reciprocated. And if it's not, they feel, unfairly treated. So they sit around and gossip about it all the time. That's Michael, what do you do during the day if you want this? Well, I was at Starbucks talking to this friend, and I was and this person agrees, and that they try to get a committee to help understand why they haven't made it to justify. It's not their fault, it's someone else's fault.
When you always blame somebody else, you're not taking your own responsibility.
I didn't have the money. I didn't have the family. I didn't have anyone helping me. I don't have a great manager. I don't have this. It's like, well, you can get it all if you have a morning routine. I always tell people, how important is your life? If your life was really that important, you would understand that your thoughts create your reality. And most people say, oh yeah, I know that. Okay, so do you every morning create your thoughts? Do you set that in progress of who you are? I do about 10 each morning of who I am. And then I do gratitudes, my 3 gratitudes. And there's this book called The Gift where you read like about 10 or 15 statements. So you start training your brain. This is who I am today. So then you do something for your mind, body, heart, soul. So then I stretch a little bit. So the whole routine could be 5 minutes or it could be an hour, depending on how much time I have. But if you train yourself every day to do something for each section of your life, because you need balance, your whole life will shift. And, I've tried that. I've done that. Oh, how long? 3 days? Then you quit. Try doing it for 1 year consistently. Your whole life will change. For 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a morning, your whole life can shift. Make your bed. Say affirmations. Look yourself in the eye and say, I love you, and mean it until it's not uncomfortable anymore. Hug yourself, go outside, spend time in nature, ask the universe for answers, because we are all a channel. We can all get everything. We don't need even a coach. It's nice to have that, accountability buddy to play off of, but you just sit there in silence and ask, and the universe does give you the answers. Because it's like, oh, that person was lucky. That one got this break. You do too. Everyone gets breaks, but everyone doesn't see the breaks because the miracles are coming and they're too blinded with clutter in their brain. And as I say with the imposters, it's like a ball of yarn in your head, the yellow, the blue, the purple, the green, and it's all jumbled, and you got to take it out and go, okay, here's the yellow problem, the blue problem, the green problem. And then once you handle them one by one, you could see it clearly. But when it's jumbled, you just go, God, I'm just exhausted every day. I don't have the energy. I don't have this. This isn't right. Oh, I'm so hungry. I just eat all day because they're nervous. And I put on weight, and now I can't go audition for this or do that because none of my clothes fit. It's like one thing after another, an excuse, an excuse, an excuse. And it's all these imposters. So some people have one, some people have all 7 and at various degrees. But once you start tackling them, it's fun. And you start seeing your life unfold, and you're like, wow, my authentic soul is showing up for the world. I get who I am. And you start liking yourself better because you're achieving things and you're being a better person in the world. Go volunteer. One of my workshops, rather retreats, was I took people to Tanzania, Costa Rica, Bali, all these places. And we in Tanzania, we stay in this little town in Tanzania, but it was horses and 4 little bungalows and then 12 little houses, and everyone had their place. And we were watching monkeys jump around in trees. And then we drove 8 hours to Lake Natron and stayed with the Maasai tribe. And the wildebeest is there and flamingos and all this stuff. And when you're out in nature like that and you're learning about this other culture, how they are, everything is the basics, you know, they're all soul. They come from their heart and soul because they don't have all the different electronics that we have. They're just earth. The men go out and hike and they still wear the traditional garb, and the women are there sewing clothes and cooking and taking care of the kids. And
they don't have to deal with social media.
Nothing. And it's just that we got to eat today. Yeah. You're going to go and eat. We're going to fix the food and take care of the kids and whatever. So it's like, so it really teaches people this is what life is like. Then at nighttime, I light candles and we're like in a little Bedouin tent. And then I keep it dark and everyone tell your secrets. And this is a sacred space, and just share from your heart. What did you learn today? What did you get? Look at all the love these people are showing each other. Look how they help and support each other. We don't do that today. We're all individuals. Like, who knows their neighbors? Even today, you know, I went to actually go talk to a neighbor. They go, oh, we don't like to talk to neighbors. I'm like, okay, because it's like nobody wants to get involved with other people's stuff, you know, and we're all alone and independent, and we're not meant to be. We're meant to be, you know, we're animals. We're meant to be in packs and support each other and love each other. And that's why all these mass shootings are. They're all lone rangers out there feeling left out, you know, dissed by society. Nobody's catching their mental illness earlier. The parents might be too busy and preoccupied, or who knows what's going on. And then it slowly starts to develop. They're alone so much, they start Googling, and then they start feeling, oh, I could have relevance. I could be famous for doing something, and I could be on TV. You know, it's sometimes it doesn't matter how you do it. You know, like they say, there's no such thing as bad publicity. You know, it's like, so maybe they're in that, you know, category of, well, I may be a mass shooter, but I'm at least famous. So it's
right. I'm hoping that anybody listening to this doesn't go to that level of reaction. But
absolutely.
Yes, people have more than one imposter type.
Yes.
And they do start to take notice. They say, okay, I want to change. I want to do something, you know, to get rid of this, to be different, to be, you know, to get into, you know, who I am. When you do start dealing with it, do you get rid of them all at once, or do you have to do different things to get rid of different types of imposter types?
Oh, I don't even believe you get rid of your imposters. I believe they're actually a part of you. A lot of therapists say, oh, let's get rid of it. But I don't think that's possible. I've been in this business for about 35 years and I still have imposters. I'm like, I do all the work. But I think what you do is you take control of them, you befriend them. And I think getting rid of them makes you boring in a way. You know, it's like we're all onions and we all have our stories and our history and our past, which makes us unique and makes us who we are and helps us give back to others through our life experiences. So I just think you need to control them, kind of like a pit bull. If they're trained and nurtured, they're loving animals. If they're not, they could attack you or attack your friends. So they have to be tamed. Then they could work for you. So when you're in a situation where you're feeling like, say, insecure at an interview or something, you could call on your egotist imposter and then stand in your power. I'm the best and I'm the greatest. And whatever the situation, if you're a fixer, it's good to help someone move or help someone do something if they need help. But just don't go to the extreme of now they owe me and I'm feeling like I wasted my time. I feel like I give too much. Then that gets to the ugly side. So as long as you're intact and go, why am I doing this? You know, what is the reason? And it's a clean, authentic way of thinking, then it's very healthy. But keeping them in check and calling on them when you need them.
Calling on the positive benefits.
Yes, the positive side. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You have a number of suggestions in your book on things you can do to access your soul. And one of them I found interesting was writing your own eulogy. So why would you want to do that?
Because then you get to work backwards. You go, okay, I just died. How do I want to be remembered? What do I want people to be saying about me? and then start acting that way, that you could manifest and start making that happen. And when you don't think about it, I've been around so many people who have passed away lately in the past 2 years. It's crazy, much more than any time in my life. I don't think I knew anyone who died until 45 years old. And so many, and like good friends. Like I was just having a party a couple of weekends ago, and the main musician that was coming, bringing the band, I hired him on Tuesday. The party was Saturday. He died Thursday. And I was calling him, hey, can we talk? Let me just give you logistics. He's not returning my call. I'm like, is he ghosting me? I need to talk to him. So I call Friday, nothing. And I go online to in Facebook Messenger him, rip. He died. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like he was just healthy a few days ago. Right. So I'm going, he didn't know what he wanted his legacy to be. How do you want to be remembered? What do you want people to be saying? How do you want to craft your life? He was young. He was only 60. He thought he was going to live to 100. So it's all about that. So once you really go, okay, I could be gone in 5 minutes, a day, a week. It's not necessarily just old age. You really start taking your life seriously. And when I've taught this in classes, I have seen so many people shift directions in their life and do something that they never thought they would do, but they thought if I would died, I'd want to have accomplished this. So I'm going to go on that track. And that is just like, watching someone just shift like that instead of me and all this to-do lists. I don't believe in all these to-do lists and get this thing. No, what's your vision? Your soul is a visionary and knows the big picture, and your imposters are like your saboteurs. So when you're going on your hero's journey and you're going through life and you're just going all these obstacles, those are your imposters, and they're meant to be there so you could overcome it. So you could become, it's not about where you end up, it's about your journey. So you get to become that person who's gone through all these trials and errors, and then you came out ahead. As long as you're doing the soul and not ruining the SOUL, not ruining your life in the meantime. But if you could get to the other side, it's really beautiful.
Oh, I'm sure. Can you give me an example of somebody who found their soul through this process?
Oh, okay. I will start with myself a little bit. When I was young, my father said, I'm sending you to an orphanage, because I was baking a cake 3 houses down. I grew up under a Baghdad roof with a Middle Eastern father, and he had 5 teenagers at once. This was during the 70s, and everyone was scared about whatever, like Charles Manson's were out at that time. So he was really scared. But I'm like, I was 3 houses down baking a cake for a friend at school, and I came in like at 6 or something. So that created a wound, because I always thought we were very close and this and that. And then I was always a great kid. So I started acting out and rebelling and hitchhiking and doing this and that. Then I decided to move to LA and be an actor. And then with all the Middle Eastern stuff, I couldn't do this and that. And that's a whole nother story that I won't get into. So I thought, what am I going to do with my life? Who am I? What am I? So I said, I'm going to go to Iraq and meet with Saddam Hussein and understand this Middle Eastern mentality, because it scarred me so much of the things he said. And so I went there, and I went to a small town of Tilkef, and the small Christian town just had like a church and a school and a little grocery store and an orphanage. I'm like, that's it. So I went into that orphanage and started talking to the children. Who are you? What are you here for? My father died. My uncle lost his leg. Da, 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 da. Why does America hate us? Why does the world hate us? Why do you keep bombing us? I'm like, it's politics. I'll memorialize your words. This is long story short. So I came home. How am I going to do that? But that took me on a 5-year, 15 orphanage trip, interviewing children, and wrote a book about it, then started a nonprofit about it, and then raising money for all these kids. And that is an example of going, how do I want to die? Do I want to die of, now I'm a bad kid because my dad did that, I'm going to start rebelling and I'm going to start doing this and that? Or am I going to go, you know what? I don't have to do that. And meeting those kids and going on that hero's journey of going through Iraq for 1 month when they're bombing by myself, and then going to these kids, it just like, cause I didn't care if I died. I was so hurt inside. It was almost like my way of committing suicide without having to do it myself or bringing shame to the family. Let someone else do it. And it's just, wow, going on that journey and surviving it, and all the people I met and all the questions I asked because I was fearless, it changed my whole life. Because then that turned me into an author. Then that turned me into a speaker, because I gave that book to schools and libraries everywhere. And I put my daughter in school in Barcelona for first grade. So I sent it out there. So I'm speaking all over Europe. And then I became a speaker. And now I speak at all these corporations. I speak at conferences and seminars and my own workshops and retreats. And now I'm writing my next book. And, so it just started a whole thing.
So my final question to you will be, how can people find out more about you, your book, and your work?
Oh, they could go to soulblazing.com, and here's the book, soulblazing.com. They can buy the book on Amazon, and it is on Audible also for those who don't like to read. And I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm everywhere. So not difficult to find me. YouTube. I do great YouTube videos. Lots of knowledge.
Wonderful. Lisa, thank you so much for being on Dream Power Radio today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We've been speaking with motivational speaker and author Lisa Haisha. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. If you have, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Until next time, this is Debbie Spector-Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.
You've been listening to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman. For more information on Debbie or to sign up for her newsletter, go to dreampowerradio.com. This has been Dream Power Radio.